Welcome to Heart Tales. Before we begin today's story, please take a moment to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you very much. One fine day, a beautiful, gorgeous, wealthy girl suddenly became my stepsister, and she even fell in love with me. Brothers, doesn't that sound like a dream come true? Haha, my stepsister, who shares no blood relation with me, might actually have a crush on me. She constantly sticks to my side, seizing every chance to tackle me to the ground. If I resist, not only do I receive a beating of love, but at night, I also get to experience the excruciating pleasure of having my manhood held tightly hostage by her. Not long ago, the campus belle I had secretly pined after for 10 years rejected my 99th confession. Amid my heartbreak, I received a call from my dad. Son, to tell you the truth, I hooked up with a rich woman a long time ago. As of today, you are officially a genuine heir to wealth. What's more, you have a fairy-like stepsister, and she's on her way to pick you up right now. Before I could ask any further, he hung up. Right at that moment, a knock sounded at the front door. Slipping into my shoes, I walked over in utter disbelief to open it. Instantly, a breathtakingly beautiful face met my eyes, her form-fitting black dress accentuating an extraordinarily voluptuous figure. While I was still stunned, Serafina grabbed my wrist and pulled me downstairs. Let's go. Don't keep Uncle and my mom waiting. Only after settling into the car did I regain my composure, looking over at the fairy-like girl sitting quietly beside me. Evaluating her, I asked in confusion, "Are you the daughter of Aunt Sarah that my dad mentioned?" Hearing my choice of words, Serafina's brows knit together as she corrected me sternly. "My name is Serafina. Starting today, I am your older sister. You have to call me sis from now on. Got it, you brat?" At the same time, a secret thought crossed her mind. This brat actually looks pretty decent. But since he dared to trash-talk me online, he's going to get a taste of his big sister's wrath sooner or later. I scanned Serafina up and down, then fell completely silent. Right now, I just wanted to find my dad as quickly as possible, so he could explain what on earth was going on. Seeing my reaction, Serafina said nothing more and turned her gaze toward the window. However, deep within her icy eyes lurked an intensely fervent flame of desire. Inside a private room at the Icon Hotel, I stared at Aunt Sarah, who, despite being nearly 40, possessed porcelain white skin and stunning looks, and couldn't help but ask, "Annie, what on earth do you even see in him?" The moment those words left my mouth, my cheap dad's face darkened as he scolded sternly. "What are you talking about, Ethan? This is your Aunt Sarah. Mind your manners." Hearing that, I began to question my very reality. Who was even talking to you? I was asking Annie. Don't flatter yourself. Hearing my blunt remark, Sarah burst into a charming, elegant laugh. What an entertaining child. Since you and Serafina are siblings now, the two of you must get along well, all right? I heard from your dad that you just graduated and haven't found a job yet, right? Sarah continued warmly. As it turns out, Serafina is the CEO of the Horizon Group. Tomorrow, let her arrange a position for you there. Serafina looked over at me, resting a fair, jade-like hand on my head as she offered a playful smirk. Of course, that won't be a problem at all. Wouldn't you say so, little brother? My lips twitched. What a turn of events. Just like that, I somehow stumbled into becoming a rich heir. After a quick meal, my dad and Aunt Sarah made an excuse to leave early, handing me a set of keys. "Ethan, we're family now," Sarah said with a fond smile. "I bought a villa in the Imperial Gardens district. You and Serafina should go ahead and move in first." With that, Sarah linked arms with my dad and strolled out of the hotel room. Now left alone in the luxurious private dining room, I truly couldn't bear Serafina's intense, unwavering gaze any longer. I asked cautiously, Have we met somewhere before?" Hearing me address her implicitly as my sister, Serafina wore a satisfied look. She pulled out her phone, opened a chat history, and placed it on the table with a teasing smirk. "I'm just a little curious. When you were arguing with me online, you sounded so tough. How come you're such a coward in real life?" Her words left me completely baffled. I reflexively glanced down at the chat log on the table and nearly jumped out of my skin. Back in college, I used to write web novels to earn extra income. About 3 years ago, I met a netizen named Cloudy Moon. She frequently left friendly feedback blasting me over my tragic plot twists. Though I wanted to block her, she somehow kept giving me endless writing inspiration, so our banter continued for 2.5 years. Eventually, Cloudy Moon confessed her feelings to me, but at the time, my mind was entirely occupied with my campus crush, so I replied, "To be honest, I'm a committed single. If you really like me, why don't you turn into my big sister? Then maybe I'll consider it. Besides, as ugly as you might be, don't dream so high. It's broad daylight, stop hallucinating." Staring at the chat history on Serafina's phone, everything clicked into place. Serafina was Cloudy Moon. The very woman who had been bickering with me online for 3 straight years was now literally my big sister. Seeing the realization dawn on my face, Serafina rose from her seat with a faint grin. She reached out to ruffle my hair, her smile not quite reaching her eyes. Well, brat, didn't you say before that you wanted to trample me under your feet? Why so quiet now? Tell me, how should I punish you?" A chill ran straight down my spine, but thinking about having to live with her under the same roof. If I chickened out now, how could I ever live in peace later? Gathering my courage, I prepared to flare up and assert my dominance. As if reading my mind, Serafina placed a hand on my shoulder with a deadpan expression. Pressing me right back down into my seat before I could even stand, she said casually, "Oh, I forgot to mention, in my spare time, I earned a black belt in Taekwondo and trained under a martial arts instructor for anti-pervert self-defense." I let out 2 dry, embarrassed coughs. Sis, everything I said before was just a joke. Your little brother was ignorant back then. Please don't take it to heart. Seeing how quickly my attitude shifted, Serafina felt like laughing internally. Still, reminding herself that it was only their first day meeting, she decided to show a little restraint so as not to completely scare the brat away. "Let me take you to see the new house. On the way, I'll pick up a few suits for you too. You can't be wearing such sloppy clothes to work at the company." At 1 in the afternoon, Serafina parked the car outside a luxury designer boutique and generously bought me a pile of new outfits. Compared to my old night market clothes, the transformation was night and day. It was as though I had been completely reborn from a broke college kid into someone with a refined aura. "Thank you both for coming. Please visit us again." Under the respectful gaze of the sales associates dressed in sharp black attire, the two of us stepped out of the boutique and climbed into the Porsche parked by the curb. Once seated inside, Serafina pulled out a sleek black card and offered it to me. "Here, brat. This is your pocket money. Spend it however you like. If it's not enough, just let me know." I glanced at the card, but didn't reach for it. "Sorry, but I have my pride. I don't eat soft rice. You just keep it for yourself. Is that so?" My mom was worried that as a fresh graduate you'd have plenty of expenses, so she specifically asked me to give you $1 million as a welcome gift. But it seems I worried for nothing. Ahem. Well, since it's a sincere gesture from Aunt Sarah, I suppose I shouldn't refuse. One must obey one's elders after all. I coughed dryly twice and reached out to take it. I originally wanted to maintain my dignity, but hey, it was a whole $1 million. Just then, Serafina yanked her hand back. "A real man keeps his word. How can you go back on what you just said? Since you said you didn't want it, then you don't." Seeing $1 million about to fly away, panic surged through me. I lunged forward to grab it. "Who said I didn't want it? I was just being polite earlier." "Good sister, hurry up and hand over the card." The two of us instantly dissolved into a playful tussle in the front seats. After a brief struggle, I finally snatched the black card out of Serafina's hand, a triumphant grin spreading across my face. So much for a Taekwondo black belt. Nothing special at all. However, after that fleeting moment of joy, I realized something was terribly wrong. Right now, I was pinned directly on top of Serafina, our bodies pressed tightly against each other. The alluring, irresistible fragrance radiating from her drifted into my nose. In an instant, my face flushed bright red, especially when my hand accidentally brushed against her soft skin, causing my heart to hammer wildly against my ribs. Just as I scrambled to get up and pull away, Serafina reached up, wrapping her arms tightly around my waist. Leaning in close to my ear, she whispered, "Brat, Your reaction right now is adorable. Don't tell me you're having inappropriate thoughts about your big sister? My throat went dry as I swallowed hard, my mind flashing back to her online confession from before. My brain completely scrambled, and I frantically broke free from her embrace. I'm warning you. Don't talk nonsense. Who would ever have thoughts about you? Besides, romance is something I wouldn't even touch if it were handed to me on a silver platter. Seeing me flustered and stammering out explanations, Serafina merely smirked without saying a word. From the brat's current reaction, it was clear that whatever was going on between him and his campus crush had completely fallen apart. That evening, in a female dormitory room at Motto University, Maria looked with deep worry at Chloe, who was curled up tightly beneath her blanket. Her delicate face was currently speckled with fine beads of sweat, clearly suffering from menstrual cramps. If this were in the past, I would have brought her hot brown sugar water every single day during this time of the month. How about I give Ethan a call for you? Maria asked gently. Just drop your attitude a little and speak nicely to him. Ask him to make some brown sugar water and bring it over. Chloe bit her red lip tightly, her usual arrogance entirely gone. Recalling everything I had done for her in the past, a wave of nostalgia washed over her, and she gave a painful nod. Seeing her finally relent, Maria let out a sigh of relief, pulled out her phone, and placed the call. Ethan, Chloe isn't feeling well right now. She admits her attitude toward you before was a bit harsh. The campus cafeteria is closed now. Could you please brew some brown sugar water and bring it over to her? Hearing those words, I let out a sharp laugh. Calling that an apology? She clearly just wants me to go right back to being her devoted lapdog. She only thinks of me when she needs something. Why didn't she think like that before? Should I bring along some ginseng to nourish her as well? I scoffed. Ethan, what kind of joke is that? I'm being serious. Chloe really isn't feeling well. You're the one who joked with me first, I replied coldly. What does her menstrual cramp have to do with me? Just because she's unwell, I'm supposed to wait on her hand and foot? We're all adults here. Don't be so naive. Maria wanted to say more, but the line went dead with a series of quick beeps, leaving her face flushed with embarrassment. Curled beneath her blanket in discomfort, Chloe never expected me to be so heartless. It was just a rejected confession. Can't we still be friends? Wasn't it always like this before? Sure enough, people's hearts really do change. He claimed to love me so much in the past, but now it seems like it was all a lie. Ethan, you're going to regret this. On the other side of town, inside a villa at the Imperial Gardens in Motto, Serafina sat on the real leather sofa in the living room, having changed into a white nightgown. Her fair, slender legs were crossed gracefully, her toes looking smooth, rosy, and delicate. Seeing me hang up the phone, she asked curiously, late at night like this, which lover of yours was calling? Dressed in a matching pair of men's pajamas, I sat cross-legged on the side and answered without hesitation. Nobody, just an annoying person. Before the words were even out of my mouth, a pair of gorgeous legs rested across my lap. Serafina tilted my chin up, whispering softly right into my ear. Brat, if I catch you taking calls from other girls again, you'd better watch out, or your little precious won't be staying intact. Hearing that, a cold shiver ran straight down my spine, and a certain part of me instinctively shrank back. T2 terrifying. Early the next morning, I blearily opened my eyes and stared at the unfamiliar ceiling. Suddenly sitting up, I looked down below, letting out a sigh of relief. Thankfully, it was still intact. But it seemed everything that happened last night wasn't just a dream. After sitting in a daze for a while, I threw off the blanket, got out of bed, and yawned as I walked over to the wardrobe to change. Today, I had an interview at the Horizon Group, but I had no intention of actually working under Serafina, that wicked woman. My plan was to go through the motions, deliberately perform poorly, and get disqualified. Given how I had treated her online before, if I actually ended up under her thumb, she would definitely make my life a living hell. When I finished washing up and went downstairs, I found a black BMW waiting right at the entrance. The driver opened the rear door and bowed respectfully. Young Master Ethan, CEO Serafina instructed me to drive you to the company. Please step inside. Thanks, I replied politely, getting into the car without standing on ceremony. In the CEO's office on the top floor of the Horizon Group building, Serafina didn't even look up as she placed a photo of me on her desk and instructed her secretary, "The group is holding interviews today. Go handle it. The boy in this photo is my good-for-nothing little brother. No matter what he says, hire him on the spot." Secretary Lily caught her drift immediately. Picking up the photo, she smiled and said, "I understand what to do, CEO Serafina. If there's nothing else, I'll take my leave." After the secretary left, Serafina returned to her paperwork, her lips curving into a subtle, scheming smile. "Brat, did you really think I wouldn't know what's going on in that head of yours? Escaping your big sister's palm? Keep dreaming." Soon, the interview time arrived, and the conference room was packed with applicants. Secretary Lily sat in the main interviewer's seat, her sharp gaze sweeping over the crowd below. Frowning slightly, she wondered if CEO Serafina had handed her the wrong photo. Just then, a dashing, confident figure sauntered through the door. "It was me. Sorry about that. Traffic was terrible, so I'm a bit late," I greeted casually and unbothered, taking a seat wherever I pleased. Seeing this, the other interviewees looked down on me with intense disdain. Arriving late for an interview? Classic clueless fresh graduate trying to compete for the same position. Seeing me enter, Secretary Lily breathed a sigh of relief. Glancing around the room, she smiled and said, "Everyone, please introduce yourselves one by one." The candidates promptly submitted their resumes and began introducing themselves. They were either graduates from prestigious overseas institutions or top-tier domestic universities. The recruiters nodded in satisfaction. It looked like they were bagging a solid batch of talent this year. Yet, Secretary Lily's expression remained unchanged, her fingers tapping rhythmically against the desk as if waiting for something specific. Finally, after everyone had finished their pitch, only I was left. A male recruiter asked suspiciously, "Where is your resume?" Hearing that, I boasted smugly, "Don't have one." "Yours truly never brings a resume to an interview." "How's that? How's that? I've been this arrogant. If you don't reject me now, the heavens won't forgive you." The moment I said those words, everyone else in the room froze in disbelief. Coming late, bringing no resume, and acting this cocky, were you actually here for an interview? Just as a few recruiters frowned, preparing to lash out, Secretary Lily suddenly clapped her hands with a warm smile. "Good. Very good," she praised. "Geniuses always think outside the box, and their ways of doing things are truly unique. Mr. Ethan is clearly extraordinary at first glance. High-caliber talent like you is exactly what our group needs." "Wait, what?" I stared back, completely dumbfounded. The rest of the applicants sat frozen in their seats, unable to believe their own ears. However, the other interviewees and recruiters were sharp folks. Seeing Secretary Lily's enthusiastic attitude, they immediately caught on and hastily joined in with applause and praise. Secretary Lily is absolutely right. Someone like Mr. Ethan coming to interview with our group is truly our good fortune. Resumes are just useless formality anyway. Only rigid, uninspired people bother preparing them. Mr. Ethan clearly isn't simple. His future prospects are bound to be limitless. The onslaught of shameless flattery left me completely bewildered. Was I really that amazing? No, wait. I came here to sabotage this. If you guys keep acting like this, how am I supposed to get rejected? Panicking, I quickly blurted out, "Actually, I'm fiercely against working overtime. I only like leaving on the dot." "That just shows Mr. Ethan has a strict concept of time," a recruiter chimed in instantly. "People like him usually hold themselves to very high standards. Mr. Ethan's capabilities must be top tier." Good grief. To be honest, I love slacking off at work. In an 8-hour shift, I only do half an hour of actual work. Do you still dare to hire me? Strategic rest allows for better thinking and energy recovery. Secretary Lily replied smoothly. This is a remarkably efficient work method. It shows Mr. Ethan is extremely drive-oriented. Half an hour later, in the CEO's office, Serafina was buried in her work, reviewing documents. Suddenly, the door was slammed open, and I stormed in furiously. Marching straight up to her desk, I slammed my hands down hard against the surface. Serafina, you set me up? Secretary Lily was arranged by you, wasn't she? Are you trying to make my life miserable again? Interrupted, Serafina raised her head slightly. A chill glinted in her eyes as a powerful, imposing aura radiated from her, her cool voice carrying an unmistakable threat. Call me Big Sister. Her piercing gaze made my heart skip a beat. Shrinking back, I weakly uttered, sis. Big Sister. Satisfied, Serafina nodded. Stepping out from behind her desk in her high heels, she walked over, reached out to ruffle my hair, and said gently, Good boy. Stick with your big sister, and you'll eat well, dress well, and be protected. Hearing those words, I began questioning my very existence. Protected? More like teased every single day. Women's lips are full of lies. Only a fool would fall for that. As a famous real estate enterprise in motto, the Horizon Group's planning department was a crucial hub, naturally making it insanely busy, filled with the continuous clatter of typing on keyboards. Over at Planning Team 3, I was slacking off while my surrounding colleagues looked at me with intense envy. As I sat in front of the computer playing games, my phone screen on the desk lit up with an incoming message. Brat, I have a business dinner tonight. Come with me. Seeing the message, I raised an eyebrow, a disdainful smirk spreading across my face as I turned off my phone and tossed it aside. Did she really think I'd jump just because she told me to? What does she take me for? A lapdog? Just then, I noticed my female colleague sitting nearby, Jean, stealing glances at me. Seeing me look over, she quickly pulled her gaze back, blushing with embarrassment. Hey, Jean, what are you looking at? Mesmerized by my handsome looks? I grinned playfully. It's fine, you can stare all you want. Yours truly gives you full permission. Panicking, she stammered out in a thick regional accent. I wasn't looking at you. Stop talking nonsense. Hearing her accent, I blinked in surprise and asked, Are you from Sichuan? Even though I grew up in Mado, I was originally born in Sichuan. Naturally, the two of us hit it off right away and started chatting comfortably. In the CEO's office, Serafina sat behind her desk, watching the two of us chat on her computer's surveillance monitor. She grit her teeth in frustration. That unbearable brat. Not only is he slacking off and ignoring my text, but he's also flirting with female colleagues. Just wait until work is over. See how I handle you then. The afternoon flew by. The second it was time to clock out, I darted out of my cubicle like an arrow off a bow, a thrilled grin on my face as I dashed into the elevator. Finally, off work. However, the moment I stepped out of the first-floor elevator, I ran straight into the one person I least wanted to see right now. I turned around to slip away, but her voice froze me in my tracks. Get over here. My face crumpled as I turned back towards Serafina, who was walking up to me. Sis, what a coincidence. You like leaving on the dot too? Stopping in front of me, Serafina reached out to gently squeeze my cheek, teasing, running away the moment you see me. Am I really that terrifying? Slacking off during work hours, flirting with female colleagues, and ignoring my texts? Speak up. How do you want to die? Can I choose to die in a beauty's arms? Dying in your big sister's arms isn't entirely out of the question, you know? Give me a break. I have zero interest in a Tyrannosaurus Rex. Are you asking for a beating? By evening, the sunset over Luoyang painted the clouds in deep shades of crimson as it slowly dipped below the horizon. I had assumed we were going out to eat with Aunt Sarah, but upon stepping into the hotel's private room, I discovered the person sitting inside was actually an unfamiliar middle-aged man. Dressed in a high-end designer suit, he radiated a commanding aura of authority. Serafina, you're here. Come sit down. It's been so long. You haven't even called your dad. Serafina pulled me down to sit opposite her father, introducing him in a calm voice. This is my dad. My face remained impassive, but my mind was reeling. Through my stay-at-home dad back home, I had learned a few details about her family. Her father and Aunt Sarah had apparently divorced after some bitter falling out. But why on earth did Serafina bring me to meet her dad? Serafina, have you given any thought to what I discussed with you? Her father began. With your talent, staying in this country is a complete waste. Overseas is the real stage for you to showcase your capabilities. As long as you, before her father could finish, Serafina cut him off directly, her tone icy cold. I've told you countless times I'm not going. Did you really think I'd be like you, abandoning my own wife and daughter just for career and profit? Becoming a scumbag like that? Sorry, but I can't do it. Hearing his daughter's words, her father hastily tried to explain. Why can't you understand me? I'm doing this for your future. I wanted to give you a better life, which is why. Those words seemed to trigger something deep within Serafina. Losing control of her emotions, she snapped back furiously. For me? That's nothing more than a selfish excuse. From the time I was a child, have you ever cared about me even once? For as long as I can remember, you were always busy with work, coming home once every few months. You claim it was for me? Do you even remember when my birthday is? The only person in your eyes has always been yourself. Her outburst left him completely speechless, unable to find a single word to justify himself. Watching this unfold, I finally understood why her parents had divorced. I never imagined her childhood had been so tragic. Having a father like that was truly a curse. Realizing he couldn't convince her, her father let out a heavy sigh and stood up to leave. Passing by Serafina, his voice was filled with sincere regret. If you ever change your mind, remember to call me. With that, he pushed open the door and walked out, his footsteps fading into the distance. After he left, I was just contemplating whether I should comfort Serafina when she suddenly buried her red, tear-streaked face directly into my chest, breaking into quiet, heartbroken sobs. Fine, just cry it out. You'll feel better afterward. I murmured softly, wrapping my arms gently around her to soothe her. Meanwhile, outside the private room, Ethan's dad looked at Sarah, whose hand rested on the doorknob but hesitated to turn it. Aren't you going in to check on them? He asked softly. Sarah ultimately pulled her hand back, shaking her head. Ethan being in there is enough. In this world, he's the only one who can bring out Serafina's most genuine self. Even I, as her mother, can't do that. Unbeknownst to even myself, Serafina had leaned on me far more than anyone realized. 3 years ago, she was closed off and tormented by her parents' bitter divorce. By chance, through my dad, she happened to come across the romance web novels I was writing. The fictional world I built was breathtakingly beautiful, and so was the love within it. Back then, I poured all my devotion for my campus crush into those stories. As a result, Serafina gradually grew fascinated with me, sparking all the chaotic entanglements that followed. She deeply craved the pure, healing kind of love I had described. A peaceful night passed. Early on a weekend morning, Serafina woke up, staring blankly at the familiar ceiling. Memories of last night flooded back into her mind. Ultimately, it seemed I had carried her all the way home on my back while she was sound asleep. Realizing this, she hurriedly scrambled out of bed and looked down at her clothes. A flash of disappointment crossed her eyes. For the very first time, she began to doubt her own charm. Is that dog of a man actually gay? Following her initial disappointment, Serafina got dressed. She maintained strict standards for herself, continuing her work routine even on weekends. By the time I woke up, it was already noon. After washing up, I grabbed a giant bag of snacks, flopped onto the sofa, and turned on the TV to enjoy a movie marathon. The afternoon flew by in a blur of films. At 4 p.m., Zach called. Ethan, where are you? We have our class reunion tonight. You didn't forget, did you? I slapped my forehead. Too much had happened over the past couple of days, and I had almost clean forgotten. I'm on my way right now. Hanging up, I threw on a quick outfit, snatched the Maserati keys off the table, and headed out. Half an hour later, outside an old residential complex, Zach was waiting. Holy crap, man. You actually hit the big time. Driving a Maserati? Zach gasped, jumping into the passenger seat. With a roll of gauze wrapped tightly around his head, he fumbled around the interior like a curious child. Ethan, my brother, after 3 years of being roomies, you better not forget about me. I couldn't help but ask. What on earth happened to your head? Who beat you up? At the mention of his injury, Zach let out a long, heavy sigh, as if we're living a nightmare. Don't even ask. After you left that day, I went home and kept pressing my dad to confess which rich woman he hooked up with. My mom overheard us, and both of them beat me up and kicked me out of the house. Hearing that, I silently gave him a thumbs up. Classic. Magnificent job, bro. When I pulled the Maserati up to the Icon Hotel, the manager passing by immediately perked up and rushed over to greet us. Before long, under the manager's guidance, the two of us were led to our reserved private dining room. Inside, over 10 people were already seated around a large circular table. Crucially, Chloe was there too, surrounded by several male classmates vying for her attention. The moment she spotted me, Chloe pushed through the crowd around her, marched straight up to me, and demanded loudly, "Ethan, why didn't you answer my calls before?" The noisy room instantly fell silent, every classmate turning to stare at us with eager curiosity. Zach sneered, unable to contain himself. "Talk about thick-skinned. You already rejected Ethan's confession. Did you seriously expect him to keep catering to you like before?" Chloe's brows knit together. A second later, she replied with unshakable righteousness, "Does not being together mean we can't even be friends? If we're not dating, we can still be friends, can't we?" Those words left not just Zach and me, but even the other guys in the room completely speechless. What kind of twisted logic is that? If we can't date, we can still be friends? Clearly, she was just reluctant to give up the perks he brought her, yet refused to actually commit, hoping to string him along without offering a single thing in return. There was no such sweet deal in this world. Just as the atmosphere turned increasingly awkward, Maria saw the situation turning sour and dragged Chloe back to her seat. The other classmates quickly played along, bringing up various topics to break the uncomfortable silence. Over at the Imperial Gardens villa, Serafina, having wrapped up her work and rushed home, had initially wanted to tease me a bit to recharge her batteries. Instead, she found a battleground of leftover snack wrappers on the coffee table. She pulled up the living room surveillance footage and replayed the clip of me leaving the house earlier that afternoon. A subtle smirk curved her lips as she grabbed her keys and headed out the door. "Brat, going to a class reunion without telling your big sister? Just wait. Let's see if I don't give you a massive surprise." Back at the hotel, the table inside the private room was laid out with a lavish spread of food. Just as everyone was about to dig in, the door swung open once more. "Sorry, everyone. The traffic was a bit jammed on the way, so I'm a little late." A man wearing glasses and a high-end designer suit stepped into the room, holding a vibrant bouquet of fresh red roses. A subtle smile rested on his face as he intentionally flashed his expensive wristwatch. His flashy arrival instantly drew everyone's attention, the crowd looking on with envious gazes. Seeing my confusion, Zach leaned over and whispered, "Dude, you don't know? This guy, Victor, just got $5 million in compensation from his house being demolished. The other day, he flexed all over our class group chat, posting over 10 moments on social media acting like he didn't care about the money." Everything made sense now. In the past, because of Chloe, Victor and I had never gotten along. While the two of us were whispering, Victor carried the bouquet of roses over to Chloe. With sincere eyes and a deeply affectionate expression, he offered a faint smile. "Chloe, this is the finest bouquet of roses I bought specifically for you on my way here. It truly suits you, the most beautiful girl in my heart." Seeing the bouquet pushed toward her, Chloe knit her brows, instinctively wanting to reject it. But as her eyes flicked toward me sitting across the table, an idea sparked in her mind. She accepted the roses from Victor, a sweet smile blooming on her fair cheeks. "Thank you." Though it was only 2 words, it sent Victor into absolute ecstasy. His goddess had accepted his gesture, a moment he had been waiting 3 long years for. Immediately after, he turned his gaze toward me, a triumphant winner's smirk spreading across his face, his eyes flashing with provocation. Seeing Chloe accept Victor's roses, everyone turned their eyes toward me in unison, their expressions brimming with drama. Just as I let out a soft sigh and prepared to stand up and leave, a familiar, playful laugh echoed from outside the private room. "My, isn't it lively in here?" Dressed impeccably, Serafina glided through the doorway with an air of absolute elegance. Are you all Ethan's classmates? Hello, everyone. Do you mind if I join you? Everyone turned to look at the entrance, their eyes widening almost simultaneously in complete shock. I bolted upright from my seat, staring in utter disbelief at Serafina as she stepped inside. The eyes of every classmate in the room instantly locked onto me in stunned silence. What on earth was going on? Did Ethan actually know this breathtaking woman? Serafina glided over and, under everyone's astonished eyes, intimately linked her arm with mine. She swept her gaze across the room, letting her eyes linger on Chloe for a couple of extra seconds before breaking into a radiant smile. Allow me to introduce myself. I am Ethan's big sister. Thank you all for looking after him in the past. Looking after my foot. Let go of me, you row. My face flushed bright red. Completely caught off guard by Serafina's boldness, I tried my best to struggle free, but she only wrapped her arm around mine even tighter. Noticing the physical intimacy that clearly exceeded normal sibling boundaries, someone couldn't help but ask, "Are you two really siblings? You feel more alike." Hearing that, Serafina's smile broadened even further. She replied with calm nonchalance, "Well, perhaps it's because I have a bit of a younger brother complex. After all, with such a handsome younger brother, who wouldn't feel their heart flutter?" The room instantly erupted in hushed chatter, everyone casting envious, burning glares in my direction. At that moment, Chloe stood up. Seeing me so intimate with another woman, a sharp pang of jealousy flared in her chest, as if something precious that belonged to her had been stolen away. "You're lying. Ethan and I grew up together. His family only has one son. You're definitely not his sister." "Perhaps I didn't make myself clear," Serafina replied coolly, her gaze sharpening as she cut in. "I am Ethan's adopted sister, not biological. And I know who you are. Back when Ethan was handing out flyers in the blistering heat to earn money for your tuition, you were lying in your air-conditioned dorm room. I knew your family background wasn't great, but I had no idea you were this thick-skinned. I truly wonder what my silly brother ever saw in you." Hearing those words, a storm of mixed emotions surged inside me. "Thanks for sticking up for me, sis. Though you didn't forget to slide a knife into my own heart while you were at it. You're a real saint." Chloe's face turned pale. Just as she opened her mouth to snap back, Maria, sweating cold beads beside her, frantically pulled her down by her sleeve, whispering a warning. "Chloe, stop. That's the CEO of the Horizon Group." The realization hit Chloe like a bolt from the blue, leaving her completely frozen. Now that she looked closely, Serafina did indeed look familiar. In other words, Ethan was now the younger brother of the CEO of Horizon Group. Seeing the atmosphere turn stiflingly heavy, I couldn't take it anymore and dragged Serafina out of the private room. "Why are you pulling me away? I wasn't done having fun yet," she protested. "Fun my foot. I came for a class reunion. What were you doing here? Next time you pull a stunt like this, can you at least give me a heads up? You almost gave me a heart attack." "It's fine. I know plenty of top medical specialists. They can cure your heart condition right up." I shook my head in utter speechlessness, unlocking the car and driving away from the hotel. Serafina sat in the passenger seat, quietly enjoying the night scenery passing by outside the window. "Thanks for earlier," I said, offering her a genuine expression of gratitude before shifting the topic. "But why are you so good to me?" Hearing my question, Serafina pulled her gaze back from the window and looked at me seriously. After a brief silence, a soft smile touched her lips. "Well, perhaps because the moon is particularly beautiful tonight." I stared at her, completely exasperated. "Cut the romantic nonsense. If you don't want to tell me, fine, but don't give me poetic lines. It's so foggy tonight you can't even see the moon." My dense response instantly shattered the subtle mood Serafina had built up. Her expression darkened, and she snapped at me in annoyance. "Brat, you deserve to be single forever. With an emotional capacity like yours, any woman who falls for you must be totally blind." "Sheesh. I only said one thing. Was there any need to curse me like that? You nasty woman? I think you're just looking for an excuse to scold me. Daring to insult your boss? Don't even dream about getting a salary this month. Universe's #1 kindest, most beautiful, most intelligent, incredible big sister. I was wrong." Early the next morning, inside the CEO's office, Secretary Lily stepped up to the desk and reported respectfully, "CEO Serafina, per your instructions, I've arranged for that girl named Chloe to work in the company cafeteria." Serafina gave a quiet hum of acknowledgement. "Good. You're dismissed. Also, cancel tonight's dinner meeting. My mother called and asked me over for dinner." Before long, lunchtime arrived. Jean and I were sitting together in the cafeteria, eating and chatting happily. Just as I was digging in greedily, a subtle, delicate fragrance wafted over. "Little Ethan, aren't you a lucky one? Having a female colleague make a special bento box just for you?" Serafina sat down right beside me with her lunch tray. Her sharp gaze locked onto me, the air practically thick with jealousy. Panicked by Serafina's sudden appearance, Jean instinctively started to stand up, but Serafina stopped her with a calm look. "Sit down. No need to be so nervous." Turning to me as I tried to shovel food into my mouth, Serafina picked up a piece of tofu with her chopsticks, held it up to my lips, and murmured softly, "Open wide." The sight left every nearby employee frozen in place. Mouths agape, their chopsticks halted mid-air. They stared in utter disbelief. What on earth were they witnessing? Their cold, unapproachable goddess, CEO Serafina herself, was personally hand-feeding a man. At that moment, every guy in the room wished they could swap places with me. I stared at the piece of tofu dangling near my mouth, eyeing her suspiciously. "Why so nice all of a sudden? You didn't poison this, did you?" A teasing smirk touched her lips, her eyes flashing with unmistakable doting warmth. "As your big sister, isn't it completely normal to feed my little brother every now and then? Or do you have other thoughts about your sister?" Her loaded, dangerously teasing tone gave me instant goosebumps. I hurriedly snapped up the tofu. How could I possibly have those kinds of thoughts about my sworn big sister? Absolutely impossible. The usually bustling cafeteria fell unnaturally quiet, with everyone stealing subtle glances toward our corner table. Who on earth is that guy to CEO Serafina? Getting fed by her own hands? God damn it, I'm so jealous. Meanwhile, in the middle of her shift, Chloe caught sight of the commotion over on our side. Watching the seamless, intimate interaction between Serafina and me, her heart welled with bitter, complicated feelings. It's all Ethan's fault. If he had just been a little more persistent and confessed one more time, I might have said yes. After finishing her meal, Serafina shot me a warning glance, let out a cold humph, and left the cafeteria toward the elevators. Staring after her retreating figure, I scratched my head in confusion. Did she just wink at me earlier? Why did it look so aggressive? Jean, sitting beside me, took on a rare look of utmost seriousness. She lowered her voice and said, "I've seen that look on TV before. That's the gaze of someone wanting to commit murder." The two of us chatted as we walked back to our workstations, our bond growing closer compared to our first day on the job. Of course, I didn't have romantic feelings for Jean. I simply felt a bit protective of her and viewed her as a little sister. After all, who wouldn't want a sweet little sister who blushes every time you say a few teasing words? That afternoon, while slacking off as usual, I received a call from an unknown number. A deep, authoritative male voice rang out through the receiver, carrying a commanding tone. "I am Marcus, Serafina's father. Your name is Ethan, correct? Who do you think you are? You order me around and I just show up. Moron." I snapped, hanging up the phone without a second thought. At the exact same time, inside the chairman's office of Skyhold Group, Marcus stared at the disconnected call, his expression darkening instantly. As the chairman of a renowned international trade conglomerate, he was treated with utter deference wherever he went. Now, a broke brat without an ounce of backing dared to slam the phone down on him. After a long silence, his expression grim, Marcus dialed another number and barked in a low voice. "Find an opportunity to bring that Ethan kid to me. Make sure Serafina doesn't find out. Understood?" "Understood, boss." Hanging up, Marcus stood up and walked over to the floor-to-ceiling glass window, letting out a heavy sigh. "Serafina, why can't you understand my good intentions? Everything I'm doing is so you can step onto a grander stage. Only by following me will your potential truly have no limit." That evening, outside the Chongning Villa district, a Porsche pulled up in front of a European-style estate. Hearing the engine, my dad stepped out, greeting us with a bright smile. "You're here. Come on in. Sarah cooked dinner herself tonight. It's rare to get a taste of her home cooking." Hearing that, Serafina's expression shifted slightly. Her deep eyes exchanged a subtle, unspoken glance with my dad before returning to normal. Anticipation surged inside me. Aunt Sarah is so gorgeous. Her cooking must be absolutely divine. Reading my little thoughts in an instant, Serafina patted my shoulder and spoke with deep implication. "You're in luck today. My mom rarely enters the kitchen, but every time she cooks, it's an unforgettable experience." Her words made me even more excited. For a dish to impress someone like Serafina, who ate high-end cuisine every single day, just how delicious must it be? Shortly after, I was led to the room prepared for me. The surprisingly simple sight before my eyes caught me slightly off guard. The room was sparse, containing nothing more than a single bed. Even the bedding hadn't been fully set up. It was a far cry from the luxury I had envisioned. Just as I was grumbling under my breath, Serafina quietly crept up beside me. Her warm breath fanned against my ear, her voluptuous body pressing almost flush against mine. "What's wrong? Don't tell me you want to share a room with your big sister? If you're not afraid of getting eaten alive, it's not entirely out of the question." Her honeyed voice, paired with the soft sensation pressing against my back, brought a faint blush to my cheeks. My heart rate involuntarily spiked, inappropriate images flashing unbidden through my mind. I shook my head vigorously. "Who wants to sleep with you? We're siblings. Watch how you talk." Seeing my flustered state, Serafina broke into a smirk. Deciding to show mercy, she turned and headed downstairs, tossing a tender remark over her shoulder. "The room next door is mine. There are extra blankets in the closet. Take one so you don't catch a cold. Your sister's heart would break." Watching her step away, a swirl of mixed emotions washed over me, leaving me baffled as to why this woman was so obsessed with teasing me. Taking a deep breath to compose myself, I pushed open the door to the adjacent room, only to stand frozen at the threshold. The room held nothing beyond a bed, a wardrobe, and a small desk tucked into the corner. Void of a single decoration, it was simple to the point of being austere. I couldn't help but mutter internally, "Is this really Serafina's room? This is her home. How could a girl's bedroom be this bare?" My mind drifted back to Chloe's dorm room, which I had caught a glimpse of back at university. It was filled with warm, delicate feminine touches that stood in stark contrast to the barren space before me. Down in the brightly lit living room, Serafina made her way down the stairs. Seeing my dad sitting on the sofa with a lit cigarette, she walked over and sat down beside him. At her approach, my dad promptly stubbed out the freshly lit cigarette and tossed it into the trash, feeling a subtle prickle of tension. Ever since he and Sarah had gotten together, this was his first time sitting one-on-one with Serafina. After a heavy silence, he spoke in a low voice. "It's good to be ambitious, but you should still come home more often. Your mother complains to me all the time that you only visit once a month. She worries about you." Serafina's expression remained passive. She uttered a quiet, indifferent hum, clearly just going through the motions. Noticing her apathy, my dad's brows twitched. Time to break out the ultimate bargaining chip. "Oh, I just remembered. We still have a bunch of Ethan's childhood photos back at the house. Probably over 10 of them or so. 5 visits a month. No way. I'm practically auctioning off my precious son's childhood dignity here. You know how much he means to me. At least 10 visits." "Deal." Serafina agreed without a second's hesitation. Meanwhile, upstairs, I was busily making my bed, completely oblivious to the fact that my cheap dad had just sold me out for 10 home visits. By the time I finished setting up my room and trotted downstairs, Aunt Sarah, wearing an apron, was just stepping out of the kitchen, holding a plate of braised pork belly. "Dinner's ready. 7 dishes and a soup. That should be plenty for us. Ethan, Serafina, come wash your hands and eat." "Coming." I jogged over eagerly, my stomach already growling with hunger. However, my dad and Serafina exchanged a knowing glance. One made up an excuse about needing the bathroom, while the other claimed her food was still hot and rushed upstairs to take a shower, both completely fleeing the dining table. Those two are so dramatic, always so busy right before mealtime. Aunt Sarah complained with a helpless sigh, pulling me down into a chair. Never mind them, let's eat first. Ethan, I made all of these specifically for you. Your dad mentioned you love braised dishes, so give them a try. Though their sudden departure felt a bit suspicious, I didn't overthink it. Picking up my chopsticks, I popped a piece of braised pork rib into my mouth. After 2 chews, my expression froze mid-bite. A wave of intense saltiness mixed with bitter charcoal spread across my tongue. It tasted like chewing raw tea leaves. Ethan, what's wrong? Is it not to your liking? Meeting Aunt Sarah's caring eyes, I forced myself to swallow the lump, squeezing out an unnatural smile. And no, not at all. It's really delicious. Ah, if you like it, eat up. There's plenty more in the pot. Eat till you're full. At that exact moment, I finally realized why those two had bolted so fast. Inside, I was gritting my teeth in absolute fury. Only after I had cleared every dish off the table did my dad stroll out of the bathroom, giving me a subtle thumbs up of admiration. He immediately turned and slipped away. A short while later, he returned with 2 takeout boxes. He handed one to Serafina, and the two of them proceeded to chow down right in front of me. Talk about rubbing salt in the wound. Naturally, this earned them a severe scolding from Aunt Sarah. That night, I sprinted to the bathroom over 10 times. By the time I staggered back to my room near dawn, I was completely drained from diarrhea. Early the next morning, utterly wrecked from my night-long ordeal, I vehemently refused to go to work. But Serafina dragged me, along with my blanket, straight into the car. I object. I protested weakly. I'm a rich heir now. Why do I still have to slave away at work every day? How is this any different from being a corporate wagey, a overworked draft horse? I demand a boycott. This is pure exploitation. Faced with my rebellion, Serafina shoved the remaining half of her sandwich straight into my mouth, cutting off my impending tirade. Staring at the photo album on her phone, filled with my childhood pictures, she said with cool composure, I just shared my absolute favorite sandwich with you. Be a good boy and don't make a fuss. Back in my childhood, my scumbag dad had teased me relentlessly. Serafina had even stumbled upon a few photos of me dressed in girls' clothes, wearing a doll dress and holding a magical girl wand. Undeniably cute, to say the least. Meanwhile, I stared down at the half-eaten sandwich in my hand, my mind in complete disarray. My knee-jerk reaction was to toss it out, but knowing Serafina had already taken a bite made me hesitate. My heart hammered against my ribs. Does this count as an indirect kiss? To be honest, facing a stepsister as breathtakingly beautiful as a fairy, saying my heart never skipped a beat would be a total lie. But now we were brother and sister. A blessing, perhaps, but a tragedy all the same. My dad had sent almost all of my childhood photos to Serafina. At the very end of the album was a 30-second video clip. Out of curiosity, Serafina tapped play. A child's voice squeaked from the speaker. My name is Shadow, aka Ethan, the one who lurks in the darkness to hunt the shadows. The sandwich in my hand tumbled to the floor. My eyes locked onto Serafina's phone, and I suddenly lunged forward in a desperate attempt to snatch it back. However, she effortlessly held me off with a single leg against the car door. A look of pure excitement and teasing mischief danced across her face as she deliberately turned the video volume all the way to maximum. The cringe-inducing lines echoed through the car like a dark curse, giving me instant, whole-body goosebumps. Flailing madly in my seat, I buried my face in my hands. Just kill me, Serafina. Kill me now. I can't live on this planet anymore. Please just grant me a swift death. Serafina, usually the picture of cold composure, flashed an evil little grin. Who knew a simple dinner at home would hand her the ultimate leverage over this brat? With this video in her hands, wouldn't he be totally at her mercy from now on? I've seen the childhood dress photos. I bet he wouldn't look half bad in one now either. Ethan, what's wrong with you? Why do you look so lifeless? Over at Planning Team 3's workspace, Jean looked at me slump-folded over my desk with hollow, empty eyes, asking in concern. Facing her question, I let out a weak, soul-crushed sigh. The most important thing in my life was stolen by that evil woman, Serafina. She did that to me, leaving me so deeply traumatized I have no face left to go on living. My brief, vague words contained a catastrophic amount of misinterpretation. The surrounding gossipy colleagues instantly lit up like Christmas trees. Did that to him? Traumatized? Did CEO Serafina actually? Meanwhile, inside the CEO's office, a sudden conversation was unfolding. Secretary Lily, have you ever been in love? The unexpected question threw Secretary Lily completely off guard, making her wonder if her ears were playing tricks on her. Hesitating for a moment, her brain worked in overdrive as she cautiously leaned closer to Serafina, probing in a low whisper. Are you asking about same-sex or opposite-sex love? Having served at Serafina's side for 2 years, she recalled how wealthy young suitors used to pursue her boss, until Serafina literally ended one suitor's family lineage. Since then, no man had dared to approach. To think such an ice queen could be into men felt unimaginable. A secret crush on women, on the other hand, sounded far more plausible. Could CEO Serafina have a crush on me? Taking 2 quick steps back in sheer panic, Secretary Lily squeaked. CCO Serafina, I already have a boyfriend. I really can't. Serafina stared at her in exasperated silence. I meant a man. Secretary Lily let out a massive sigh of relief. Leaning back in, she whispered conspiratorially, well, if the guy you like is the overbearing CEO type, I'd suggest. But if he's more like an innocent puppy, it's way simpler. You just need to do this, and that. A wave of tactical advice poured into Serafina's brain. She nodded along, half understanding, deciding to test these tricks out on Ethan. Honestly, she preferred not to take the initiative either, but dense blockheads like Ethan never picked up on any of her subtle hints anyway. Meanwhile, at a coffee shop in the capital, Zach sat across from 2 men dressed in sleek black suits. You've seen our credentials. Now, will you help us with this matter? One of the men pulled out a thick stack of $100 bills, set it on the table, and spoke flatly. Zach eyed the 2 men. Originally, he had only stepped out to buy a pack of tissues at the supermarket. The moment he walked out, these 2 had cornered him and brought him here, claiming to work for Serafina's father. Once he pieced the situation together, Zach crossed his arms with a disdainful sneer. The name Zach cannot be tainted by mere chump change. Ethan is my brother, a brother I'd die for. You think I'd sell him out for a bit of cash? Before he could even finish his sentence, the second man pulled out another thick stack of bills and laid it on the table. We completely understand your feelings, but we hope you can understand a father's deep concern for his daughter. Zach froze for a split second, then casually slid the money into his pocket with practiced ease. Coughing twice to clear his throat, he said, well, given how sincere you 2 are, it'd be downright rude of me to refuse. Consider it done. With that, he whipped out his phone and dialed my number. Hey, Ethan, I got my hands on 2 insane movies. Want to come over and watch? Pass. I don't trust your trash taste in movies. Did I mention they're exclusive imported cuts? Super rare stuff. Cost me an arm and a leg to get from a buddy. You really think I'm the type who likes watching paper-thin dolls wrestle on a bed? Fine. I'm at home. I'll send you my location. Get over here right now. Half an hour later, I quietly snuck out of the office. The second I stepped out of the building, a few guys bound my hands, shoved me into a small van, and sped away from the scene. A few minutes later, inside the chairman's office, Brett, you've got nerve hanging up on me like that. Marcus sat behind a massive executive desk, his eyes cold and razor-sharp. I maintained a deadpan expression, replying calmly, kidnapping is illegal, you know? If Serafina finds out about this, do you think she'd hesitate for a second before charging in here? Marcus ignored my remark, speaking in a flat, unquestionable tone of authority. Stay away from my daughter. I will send you abroad to build a career. Money, connections, whatever you want, I will grant it. Hearing his words, it suddenly clicked. Marcus actually thought Serafina and I were dating. Before kidnapping me, you really should have done a little homework on who I am. Homework on you? I make millions every minute. Do you think you're worth wasting my precious time on? At that, I took a deep breath as a volcano of rage erupted inside me. Bursting through the ropes binding my wrists, I strode right up to Marcus's desk, pointed straight at his nose, and let him have it. Fuck you. If you actually gave a damn about knowing me, you'd know that the more you forbid me from doing something, the more I'm going to do it. The more pissed off you get, the happier I am. You spout all this crap about doing everything for Serafina, but have you ever bothered to ask what she actually wants? Since she was a kid, she never felt loved. All she ever wanted was a little genuine care from her father. But you couldn't even give her that. Instead, you keep forcing her into things she hates. Are you even fit to be called a father after everything you've done? Money can buy a lot of things, but it can never buy love. A man like you deserves to be dumped by Aunt Sarah. Because I had spoken so fast, my chest heaved with heavy breaths, but my face remained resolute with zero regrets. Marcus's face darkened instantly. Having dominated the capital's business world for decades, no one had ever dared to point a finger straight at his nose and chew him out like that. Having vented all the rage in my chest, I let out a cold laugh, turned on my heel, and strode out of the office. Seeing that their boss remained silent, the two bodyguards obediently stepped aside without making a move to stop me. Soon enough, Marcus was left alone in the sprawling office. Right at that moment, the door to the inner lounge clicked open and a figure stepped out. It was Serafina. A soft flush touched her usually icy cheeks, as if the frozen wall around her heart had melted away in that very moment. Beside her, Marcus felt a pang of deep regret. He shouldn't have let Serafina come here in the first place. He had initially intended for her to see the brat's true colors, but instead, the plan had completely backfired. He had tried to steal a chicken only to lose the rice. I told you already, he is fundamentally different from you. So please, stop meddling in my life from now on. Tossing those cold words behind her, Serafina turned and walked out of the office. Meanwhile, the moment I stepped out of the Skyhold Group building, a sleek Rolls-Royce pulled up right beside me. Little Ethan, what a coincidence. If you're not busy, why don't you come to the supermarket to pick up groceries with me? Aunt Sarah's gentle tone sent an instant shudder down my spine, my smile freezing on my face. What? Actually, I was just about to head home and rest. Tonight, I might. If you don't come along, I'll just tell Serafina that you snuck out of work early. Guess how she'll punish you then? Actually, going grocery shopping is my absolute favorite thing to do. I'm coming. Left with no choice, I surrendered and climbed into the passenger seat of the Rolls-Royce, weeping tears of blood internally. My poor stomach. You're in for another brutal night. The Rolls-Royce glided toward the nearest upscale supermarket. Inside the car, Aunt Sarah broke the silence. You were just with Serafina's father, weren't you? Did he say anything unpleasant to you? I hesitated for a moment before nodding. Seeing my admission, a faint smile touched Aunt Sarah's lips as she spoke softly. No matter what he said, don't take it to heart. He is a thoroughbred businessman through and through. He only cares about his own self-interest. I used to think he might change for Serafina and me. Turns out, he only ever had his eyes set on using her potential. Hearing that, I turned to look out the window and replied flatly, he wants Serafina to go further, to become a world-renowned entrepreneur. What about you, Annie? What kind of future do you hope she has? What I want doesn't matter, as long as Serafina lives a happy life. Failing to give her a happy childhood is my greatest failure as a mother. However, as her backing and support, that's something I can definitely do. And naturally, I'll be your backing from now on too. As her words fell, silence descended upon the car. It took me a moment to realize we had quietly pulled up below the Horizon Group building. Sarah parked the car smoothly, turning her head with a gentle smile. Ethan, our true desires can never fool our own hearts. Whatever choice you make, I will back you up 100%. As for dinner tonight, you and Serafina should eat together. Of course, if you ever crave my home cooking again, I could always... And no, there's really no need to trouble yourself, Annie. I'll take my leave now. Without a second's hesitation, I scrambled out of the car and dashed into the building. As I ran, Sarah's words kept echoing in my mind. What on earth did she mean by that? Watching my retreating figure disappear into the building, Sarah's smile faded. She calmly put the car in drive and headed straight for the Skyhold Group headquarters. Upon her arrival, the two security guards at the entrance respectfully opened the doors and quietly alerted their boss as the private elevator carried her straight to the top floor. Pushing open the heavy double doors, Sarah stepped into the chairman's office. Marcus was leisurely sipping tea behind his desk, a warm smile gracing his face. "Sarah, you're here? I was just about to talk to you about Serafina." Before he could even finish his sentence, Sarah marched straight up to his desk. Slap! A resounding slap echoed through the room as her hand struck Marcus's face. "I'm warning you, Marcus. Ethan is my son now, too. If you ever dare lay a finger on him or pull a stunt like today's again, don't blame me for going nuclear and castrating you." "Why you? You actually hit me over that, brat? You even want to sterilize me?" Marcus held his burning cheek, his voice trembling with fury. "What makes him so special to you? Just because he's that bastard Ethan's dad's son?" Sarah glared at him with cold, utter contempt. "Because he is my family. A man like you, who'd use any ruthless trick to climb to the top, will never understand the true meaning of family. Consider this slap a warning. Don't test me." With a sharp humph, Sarah turned on her heel and walked out. The moment the door slammed shut, the sound of smashing furniture erupted from inside the office. Outside, not a single employee dared to breathe too loudly, terrified of getting caught in the crossfire. Meanwhile, having snuck back into the company, I was caught red-handed by Serafina and dragged reluctantly into her CEO office. Slacking off during work hours is one thing, but you actually dared to sneak out of the building today. Speak up. Why? Trembling under her sharp glare, I tried desperately to stall. "This is way too embarrassing. Can I please not answer? I'll give you 3 seconds to think it over. If you don't talk, you're scrubbing toilets starting tomorrow." 3. Okay. I'll talk, all right. I yielded frantically, coughing softly. I went out to watch some movies." Hearing such a lame excuse, even Serafina was left completely speechless. Stepping out from behind her desk, she strode toward me. With a gorgeous woman right beside him, this brat still sneaks out to watch trashy videos? He's asking for it. Fine then. As punishment, you're coming shopping with me tomorrow. Refuse, and you're dead meat. Right at that moment, Secretary Lily walked into the office. Catching sight of the tension, she asked in confusion, "Huh? CEO Serafina, didn't you just leave the building a moment ago? How did you get back so fast?" Hearing that, my eyes went wide with indignation as I snapped. "And you dare scold me? Didn't you sneak out of the office too? Why am I the only one getting punished? I demand an appeal." Serafina smirked, leaning in close with a dangerous glint in her eyes. "All right then, your punishment is upgraded. You're going shopping with your beloved big sister tomorrow."